Hi everyone, it's Duchess. Back when I was a kid, when I wasn't doing schoolwork, I spent my free time watching Nintendo's official YouTube channel. My favorite videos were always the console and handheld showcases and trailers. My very first console had been a Nintendo DS Lite, and from that moment on, I was hooked as a Nintendo fan. But by the time the 3DS came out, my attention had shifted to different things. Nintendo still held a place in my heart, but it was on the back burner, until I stumbled across one of the first 3DS showcases. The rest was history, and I was hooked on this little thing. Years later though, I moved on to different 3DS models, eventually settling on the new 3DS XL in 2016. As life went on and my gaming habits changed, that first 3DS sat in a case, collecting dust. Occasionally, I'd pull it out to display it on my gaming shelf, but I'd always put it right back. But now, I think it's time to give my first 3DS the glow up it deserves, the one I couldn't give it as a kid. Today, we're bringing my childhood 3DS back to life. There were a few things I wanted to do to make this 3DS the best version of itself. Installing custom firmware was the first step, opening up a world of customization and visual improvements. I also wanted to curate my own personal collection of virtual console games. The possibilities felt endless, but first, I had to clean the muck off the system. Cleaning the system wasn't a nasty ordeal. I always kept my consoles shining, so most of the buildup was just dust and grime in the nooks and crannies. Orange was my trusty toothbrush, not my hygiene one, don't worry, and rubbing alcohol, I got to work. 7 minutes later, the console was spotless and ready to go. I'm probably not going to customize the exterior of this 3DS beyond cleaning it because I'm sentimentally attached to it, and honestly, I'm still in love with how it looks after all this time. Next, it was time to homebrew the console. I had factory reset the system years ago, so I went through the motions to get it set up until I reached the home screen. Looking at the home screen, the default apps and themes are pretty bare bones. Back then, I was thrilled with Space Raiders and the Nintendo AR cards because they felt so futuristic, but as nostalgic as I am for them, they seem boring now. The default theme selection was also lackluster. I don't remember free themes being available on the eShop. If you didn't want to pay a few dollars for a premium theme, you were stuck with basic options that only changed the menu's color. And even that wasn't available early on. I think the only theme back then was the white home screen. Am I remembering this right? Let me know in the comments. For nostalgia's sake, I tried opening the eShop. It still opens, but is now a shell of its former self. Only a few collection of games are left, but none are purchasable. It's kinda sad. I'm not sure why they didn't just disable the eShop entirely, because this half-preservation effort feels wrong. A quick Google search for 3DS Homebrew brought me to 3DS Hacks Guide, the go-to site for everything you need to know about homebrewing a 3DS. It details the process step by step and even takes the time to write out any potential errors or issues that you might come across throughout the process. I went through the steps, set up Luma, and installed all the necessary homebrew apps. With that done, I could finally ditch the boring home screen and replace it with something more stylish, like a Room Factory 4 theme. I've been on a bit of a Room Factory kick since picking up the special edition for the Switch last month, so it seemed like the perfect way to rep the team. The theme's background music, though, is a little annoying. It loops too quickly and too often. Fortunately, with Anemone, the 3DS theme manager, you can pick one theme and pair it with the background music of another. It's a fantastic feature that makes customizing your 3DS even more fun. If you wanted to, you could even download custom themes online that are entirely new and different from the selection that was available on the eShop. I also installed a few CIAs, and no, not that kind of CIA, at least I hope not. These are homebrew apps that I downloaded using Universal Updater, which is essentially the app store for homebrew programs. The selection here is practically endless, offering something for everyone. Emulators, cheat code managers, DS bootstraps, and even Doom, because Doom can run on anything with the electronic chip. One CIA that's an absolute must-have is Nitro Hacks. This program lets you add cheat codes to your physical DS cartridges without needing an external tool like GameShark. Just pop in a cartridge, load up Nitro Hacks, and it should automatically recognize your game, giving you access to a full set of cheat codes you can enable pretty much anytime. This is especially great for Pokemon games if you're the type of player who just wants to speed through the story and build the perfect team as quickly as possible. There are tons of codes to help with that, like experience multipliers or no damage sheets. And if you want to catch legendary Pokemon without the hassle of grinding or running out of of Pokeballs, just enable the 100% cash rate code and boom, Articuno is all yours. Now I will say that not every code is going to work. At least that was the case with me for the most part. But I would say that 9 times out of 10 you really shouldn't have an issue with no damage or quick level up codes. The next thing I knew I wanted to do was curate a collection of my favorite Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color, and original Game Boy games. One of the cool things about the Nintendo 3DS is that it can run Game Boy games natively because the 3DS was built with the components of backwards compatibility that mimics Game Boy hardware. Piecing together a collection of games from Nintendo's earlier handheld generations wasn't too difficult. There were some staple series I knew I had to include: Pokemon, Mario, Zelda, Kirby, and others. For any games that weren't already available, I could turn legal ROMs I owned into the Virtual Console format using the Virtual Console injector on my computer. I know it's possible to play these ROMs through the DS Bootstrap, TwilightMenu, and it's definitely less of a hurdle since it's just a matter of dropping some ROM files onto folders on your SD card. But I would say that using the Virtual Console injector is probably the better option to go with. You're getting way more bang for your buck by going through the extra hassle. For starters, you don't have to load into TwilightMenu just to play a Game Boy game. It will be right there on your home screen. But not only that, it will look just like an official Virtual Console title, complete with the fancy 3D model of a floating Game Boy and an image of the game on the screen. You can even tweak small details like the color of the system on the home screen model or customizing the title and thumbnail image of the game. For most games, that won't be necessary unless you're aiming for a specific aesthetic, since the Virtual Console injector usually has all the game's metadata stored in the program. But for ROM hacks, this feature is super handy since those aren't official Nintendo titles. In case you're unfamiliar, ROM hacks are modified versions of existing games created by fans who tweak or completely overhaul different aspects, whether it's adding new characters, improving the story, rebalancing mechanics, or even redesigning the entire game world. They've got a massive presence in the Pokemon fan community where players have taken old favorites and turned them into entirely new experiences. If you haven't already, check out an older video of mine where I dive into this very topic and talk about how I got into the Pokemon ROM hacking scene. Since I'm still a total normie when it comes to ROM hacks, I only know of a few that I've really enjoyed or have been dying to try out. Pokemon Unbound is one, for example, along with Scorched Silver, so those two definitely made my list. But another set of ROM hacks I knew I had to include were the Pokemon Pure RGB games. I actually didn't even know about these until I watched Turtle Bro's video on them. His breakdown of what these hacks set out to improve is spot on, so if you want to check it out, I've got a link down below. But to keep it short, Pokemon Pure RGB is a set of games that aim to recreate the original Kanto experience with a ton of quality of life improvements, such as enhanced sprites, rebalanced mechanics, and updated movesets to bring them closer to later generations. The games are split into 3 versions: Pokemon Pure Red, Pure Blue, and Pure Green, each with slight differences in available Pokemon and other minor gameplay tweaks. It's essentially Gen 1, but with all the rough edges smoothed out for a much better, less broken experience. But can we backtrack to TwilightMenu for a second? Even though I wouldn't necessarily recommend it for Game Boy emulation, it absolutely delivers when it comes to DS games. Just like with my Game Boy collection, I curated a selection of DS titles, some from my childhood and some I never played before. While researching what to try, I saw Sonic Colors pop up, and considering that I'm now officially part of the Sonic fandom, as established in my last video, I couldn't resist jumping straight back into my favorite Blue Hedgehog's world. For a DS title, I was honestly shocked by how well it ran, and how fast it was going too. The gameplay felt fluid, the music was insanely catchy, and the controls were intuitive and easy to pick up. Sure, it's not perfect, there are some hardware limitations, but I still had a blast just enjoying it for what it was. A solid handheld Sonic experience. Finally, what's the point of homebrewing a 3DS if I'm not even going to play 3DS games on it? Of course, I had to install some of my favorites, starting with The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time 3D, which, funnily enough, was my first Zelda game back in 2014. The nostalgia hit hard while I was playing, and I couldn't help but laugh at how bad I've gotten at a game I once put over 80 hours into. Along with revisiting games I already knew and loved, I decided to try out something new, Kirby Triple Deluxe. As of making this video, I haven't finished it yet, but so far I'm really enjoying it. The gameplay can feel a bit repetitive at times, sure, but if there's one thing I've learned about the Kirby series is that, for me at least, it's always been more of a laid-back, relaxing experience. The levels tend to be on the longer side, and there's not much of a learning curve. You can just pick it up and go. And let's talk about how gorgeous this game is. The colors are ridiculously vibrant, the environments are packed with charm. For a system that is running natively on 800 by 240 pixels, the game looks fantastic. Like, the pixels are very difficult to notice, and sometimes, again, it might just be me or that I need glasses, but I feel like there wasn't even any visible pixelation at times. And of course, Kirby is as adorable as ever. I'm really looking forward to diving deeper into this one because it has a lot of promise. At the end of the day, homebrewing my childhood 3DS has been an incredibly fun and nostalgic experience. It's given me a way to revisit old favorites, discover new ones, and even customize the system to fit my style in ways that were impossible before. It also made me realize how much the gaming community has stepped up to preserve the legacy of the 3DS, especially after Nintendo pulled the plug on the eShop and online services. There's an entire world of possibilities waiting for anyone willing to tinker with their system. I say this is definitely a worthwhile experience if you haven't done it already. If you got an old 3DS lying around collecting dust, maybe it's time to give it a second chance. And that's my take on it. If you're someone who loves exploring the depths of the gaming community, hit that subscribe button below and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. See you guys later.
Where magic's alive, Duchess brings the joy, it's where dreams thrive. With cozy games, she lights up our